Hello, public opinion aficionados, and welcome to Rasmussen Reports, the most honest pollster in America. And I'm also the most well rested pollster in America, too. Thanks for everybody who's been waiting for our content, but I needed a little bit of R&R after that really taxing election season. But we are back again for 2025, which is going to be an absolutely insane year, and we have a lot to cover. Now, the meat of this video is going to be about the absolutely horrifying wildfires that are playing out in Los Angeles. Not a single pollster has gone into the field to collect public opinions about this massive debacle. What you're going to see, you will not see anywhere else. So please hang on for a few minutes till we get to these absolutely packed crosstabs. There are so many shiny objects in this thing, but there's a couple other really important stories that are playing out right now and some things that you may have missed. So I want to go to the website and take a quick look. Now, this is our site, rasmussenreports.com. If you haven't been here, please go sign up for a free daily update in your email of all of our stories. And we also would absolutely love your support if you could sign up as a reader subscriber for a couple bucks a month, get to see the stories and help us put out more content that's really not like anything else out there. But anyway, here are our recent releases, and there's some really big stories in here that I didn't get a chance to cover. A majority of voters are concerned for Trump's safety at the inauguration. Get this, 43% think Trump will be better than Biden. It's only in the mid 30s that think Trump will be worse on the issue of Ukraine. Only 29% say the U.S. is headed in the right direction right now. 54% of voters approve of the Trump transition. Keep in mind, only 50% of the country voted for Trump. So there are a lot of people that are looking at what he's doing, despite the media hand-wringing about all of Trump's nominations. Trump is doing a good job, and the people agree with it. 47% say the content that Disney has put out has gotten worse. We did a video with WD Pro on that one. Some really big things. But this is one thing specifically I wanted to look at. We're in the last couple of days of Biden's term right now, and you never really know what presidential approval is going to do. Sometimes it goes up like it did for Trump after January 6th. That's absolutely incredible. It might not match what you have heard in the news. And sometimes you get what I like to call the W dump, where a lame duck president, not well liked, just kind of peters out at the end. And it's kind of looking like that's the direction that Biden approval is going to take. He was as high as, 46%, 47% for his post-Christmas bounce, but he's down to 42 right now. And it looks like, there's no floor to this thing. 4 years ago, Trump was at 48%. And I'm telling you, he finished his term at 50%, which is absolutely stunning, considering that would have been just over 2.5 weeks after the biggest threat to U.S. democracy since the Civil War. And there's a bit of complacency here. This is Biden's approval index. This is strongly approve minus strongly disapprove. And obviously the number is negative. It's always been negative. it's always been negative. But strongly approve is plunging. Last couple of months, it really happened around the switcheroo. It started to drop. And it's a meaningful amount. 28% down to 20% right now. But here's the complacency. Strongly disapprove is dropping as well. Once Biden was declawed, people pretty much moved on. Now, another really important topic I can't gloss over is the way in which November 5th completely shattered the mainstream media's grip on the national narrative. And I really think I have some proof here. This is just anecdotal proof, but this is my second favorite public opinion tool after polling. This is Google Trends. This is a unitless relative measure of what people are searching for by term. And let's just pick Pete Hegseth there. People were really searching this name November 13th. November 12th, nobody knew who he was. Nobody was searching for it. Massive spike on the 13th. The important thing to note here is that the stories about his potential scandals didn't come out till the 14th and 15th. And after that initial day, there were just relatively very few searches about this guy. He went really all Christmas, all holiday season, and nobody cared. And then there's another massive spike, and it's the day of his hearing with all of the zingers he had, just ripping people apart like Pocahontas. It was absolutely incredible. The media did everything they could to try and call out the insanity of Trump's, the theoretical insanity of Trump's nominations. and it looks like it had absolutely no impact. The press's laser pointer is broken. Now, maybe my third favorite public opinion tool is becoming Grok. And there's really no limit to what you can ask Grok and get interesting information out here. I asked it to explain the stages of the tone and critique of the public discussion around the LA fires on X. And it pretty astutely pointed out the first couple of days were shock and concern, then questioning and accountability, and then a lot of speculation. Was there arson? Was the reservoir full? Blah, blah, blah. Reflection and analysis, and then community support and recovery. Although I would say that Grok omitted the meme cycle. This is the best thing I think I've ever seen on the internet in the last year. I could watch this. I could watch this thing all day. It'll never get old. I don't know. Maybe it's too soon to joke, but the LA thing is really a massive issue. It really underscores not just California. In my opinion, it underscores the failure of public trust in leaders in all institutions across the country, corporations, our federal government, local government. But here's a Breitbart exclusive that was put out Wednesday night. Fires remorse. Cute. LA residents turn against Mayor Karen Bass in poll. Well, that would be a Rasmussen poll. And this is by Joel Pollack. Los Angeles, a new poll by Rasmussen Reports shows that LA Mayor Karen Bass is underwater with voters with 42% approval and 44% disapproval. She won by a really massive margin in the wake of the wildfires that have destroyed large swaths of the city. The poll, set to be released Thursday, was conducted the 13th or 15th. 809 likely voters in LA County with a margin of error of 3.5%. Now, this is a really good write-up. You should go check it out. But we are actually going to be looking at the crosstabs of our poll. This is the story we put out. LA residents rate mayor worse than Newsom on wildfire response. But we are going to the crosstabs. And if you want to follow along, this is actually a public story. It's not behind a paywall. You can go to rasmussenreports.com and download these crosstabs yourself. They're incredibly rich. I'm only going to be able to hit the highlights. But, I mean, here we have favorability. So California, this is LA County, remember. This is deep blue LA County. For context, we looked at the 2024 results from this county and, taking aside the 10% of people who didn't vote or weren't sure who they voted for, voted third party, everybody else went 60% Kamala Harris to 30% Donald Trump. So if you see any conservative answer here that's higher than 30%, I mean, that's a really Trumpy response. So we're looking at Biden approval of 57%, but only 26% favorable. But what about Trump? So Trump actually gets 37%. That's pretty good. 19% very. Deep blue LA here. Only 53% say very unfavorable. What about Gavin Newsom? Now, this one's a head scratcher, but the people in LA County actually still kind of like Gavin Newsom. He's getting a 57% too. Basically the same exact thing as Biden. Same exact thing. And 40% unfavorable. So to me, this is a hint that people aren't really blaming Gavin Newsom, but he's not well liked either because Biden is certainly not a well thought of president. We just saw his approval rating. It's 42% right now. 78% of Democrats have a favorable impression of Gavin Newsom, but only 35% very, but also only 10% very unfavorable. And, this is not a ton of Republican ire here. Really weird. 67% unfavorable, way less than Republican unfavorable of Biden, and only 54% very unfavorable. So Republicans in LA County really don't hate this guy. I mean, they don't like him. But here's the kicker. Karen Bass, 57%? Nope. 42%. 15 points less than Gavin Newsom and only 16% very favorable. Number among Democrats is only 55% with a 20% very favorable. She is taking the blame here. Now, Republicans don't have as strong and unfavorable for her as they do for Gavin Newsom. I think that that's a hint that Republicans are blaming him more, but the Democrats are clearly blaming Karen Bass more. And the independents are with Republicans on this one. It's Newsom that's really the problem, but not by much. We're talking 42% to 32%. Important to point out, Again, this was weighted to the 2024 recalled vote, something that we use to great effect this cycle and probably will be using it again. I don't know, maybe if I feel cute. But there's a really good article out there written in the Silver Bulletin about the pollsters again and how they got it right or got it wrong, with the New York Times' Nate Cohn saying that probably in the future, pollsters will be using more selective employment of the recalled vote. Yeah. Yep. Rasmussen taught him something. Now, also important to point out, 40% of this poll was from people within the boundaries of the city of LA. Those people said that they voted for Karen Bass, 46% to 26% Caruso. How would you rate the job Gavin Newsom has done in responding to the wildfires? Not great. Not great. Basically good. 54% say good or excellent. 23% say excellent. 27% say poor. Only 31% of Democrats say excellent. That's not a ton, but it's 69% who say excellent or good. And only 55% of Republicans again say poor. Stunning. Independents, 32% say poor. How would you rate the job that LA Mayor Karen Bass has done in responding to the wildfires in LA? And these numbers are just way, way, way worse. We're talking 15% excellent instead of 23%, a combined total of only 36% excellent or good, like 20 points worse. And 33% say poor, a combined total of 57% say fair or poor, and a combined total of 48% of Democrats say that Karen Bass has done fair or poor. Now, I don't know. She might be able to live this down. Maybe nationally, this won't get attached to her, but in LA, these are really bad results. Her political career in LA is probably done for the foreseeable future, although we'll get to the recall numbers in a few minutes. How would you rate the job that LA public employees have done in responding to the wildfires? And they do a much better job. Only 33% say excellent, but 69% say excellent or good. So people blame the government less. You know, despite all of those posts about the DEI hires getting $1 million. And people are only tepidly confident in the Californian leaders' ability to manage the wildfire crisis. Only 23% say very confident, 41% say not confident. 17% were evacuated, 7% say their homes were damaged, another 6% say destroyed, but 84% say it's fine. But here's the zinger. Do you have fire insurance coverage on your home, or do you live in a rental? 40% say yes, 19% say no. So basically, only 2/3 of homeowners in LA County say they have fire insurance coverage. 1/3 do not. So here's the beauty of crosstabs. We can go all the way out to the right. And among people who say that their home was damaged, basically 3 out of 9, 1/3 say they do not have fire insurance coverage. And among people who say their home was destroyed, it's basically 50-50. That is a massive loss. I think there's probably going to be insurance implications. There might be some bailout of the California Fair Plan. That's such a high amount of people that had their homes damaged or destroyed that did not have fire coverage. 68% say that LA should still be the host for the 2028 Olympics, but 19% say no. We asked if Trump would help or hinder Californians' recovery. A plurality say hinder, 41%, but 29% say help. Not a resounding endorsement, but also not what you would expect to see from one of the main seats of liberalism in America. But here's a crazy one. Keep in mind, only 26% of LA Metro voted for Rick Caruso, but in LA County, 35% say it would have been better if Rick Caruso had been elected mayor of Los Angeles instead of Karen Bass. Only 3 in 10 LA County voters say it wouldn't have been better if somebody else was elected instead of Karen Bass. Disgusting. How likely are you to change your party affiliation based on how the LA wildfires have been handled? 11% very likely, 13% somewhat likely, for a combined total of almost 1 in 4 voters in LA County are considering changing their party affiliation because of how the fire was handled. This is major political ramifications, and it's going to take a long time to figure out how it all plays out. Which is closer to your opinion, that the California wildfires should be mostly blamed on climate change, or they should be blamed on other natural forces or the failures of public officials, and not climate change wins by 51% to 40%. Only 40% of California that spent over 10 times more on social justice and equity than on fire prevention. Only 40% of those people think it was climate change predominantly. Only 50% of Democrats say predominantly climate change, but 73% of Republicans say other stuff, as do half of independents. And how likely is it that arson contributed to the spread of the wildfires? 34% very likely, another 43% somewhat, for a combined total of 77%. More than 3 in 4 LA County voters think arson was involved. 34% say very likely, only 4% say not at all likely. And literally all of Democrats, 84%, even more than Republicans, Democrats think it was arson. Isn't that wild how the press is out there like gaslighting about how this was definitely caused by climate change? Nothing to see here, folks. This one's kind of sad. This is sick. It's like a level of self-hatred or nihilism that only could come from the seat of communism in America, California. There were widespread reports of looting in evacuated areas of the city. Which is closer to your opinion, that this is to be expected, or that the policies of California have contributed to lawlessness? And a majority, 51%, say, yep, looting's just to be expected. It's just human nature. It's just something that happens. And only 35% of them say that it's actually California policies contributing to lawlessness. That's even only 54% of Republicans say that it's California policies. So then what's causing it? 65% of Democrats say it's to be expected. And 58% of black voters in LA County, that's the next biggest signal, is race. 70% of liberals, this one's wild, 79% of high school dropouts, and 54% of people with graduate degrees. High income folks, yeah, it's just to be expected. The proles are going to rise up and steal things if they get the chance. This is not the way that society is supposed to be. Would you support or oppose the recall of Governor Gavin Newsom? And 27% strongly support, another 16% somewhat, for a combined total of 43%. But 48% are opposed, so that's a plurality. But as far as a recall of Karen Bass goes, we're still seeing 43%, and 43% are opposed, so it's a wash. People are undecided here. But 32% of LA Democrats support a recall of Karen Bass, and only 54% are opposed. An overwhelming majority of Republicans support it, 61%, although you'd expect to see it higher, 47% of independents. Now, I will say that there was a moratorium on landline calling, and so this was an online-only poll, and that does differ a bit from our traditional methodology, although most of it should have been weighted out with a recalled vote. But there is a chance that the Republican responses are moderated somewhat because of anybody. Republican results on landline are most different from online. Are you happy where you live, or do you plan to move? Only 61% of LA County is happy where they live. 25% plan on moving. And it's not just the Republicans, it's everybody. 24% of Democrats, 23% of Republicans. And among the people who plan to move, only 53% of them plan to stay in state. 41% are getting the hell out of California. 50% of Republicans are getting the hell out of California. Only 19% of black voters, though, they're going to move in state. Interesting. A plurality of white voters, 46% to 45%, they're getting out of California. Escape from LA. Why do you plan to move? And it's a mix of reasons. Actually, mostly the economy, not the wildfires, but wildfires are number two. It's 28% to 21%. Another 14% is crime. And then leadership is 9%, something else 19%. But it's like, let's just look at things that ostensibly could be fixed by local governance, right? It's like 49, a full half. Homelessness, the leadership, crimes, wildfire, a full half of the people fleeing LA County are moving because of problems with leadership. And you know, there's something else, people, that could be leadership too. Who knows? It's probably bigger than that. Well, that's definitely a packed poll. Let's check in on. Yeah, I love it. So anyway, what a great way to open up 2025. We have the inauguration in just 3 days now. I think it's going to absolutely be wild. This one's going to be a lot different than previous ones. First off, it's going to be the first one indoors for decades. And we're finally going to see what a Trump 47 term looks like. You know, in 2016, 2017, they came out of the gate with shock and awe. But I'm reliably informed that the theme this time is going to be Days of Thunder. And we're going to find out over the first couple of days and the first 100 days how true to his word Donald Trump is going to be on the platform that the people ask for. For more public opinion news as we follow along, go to rasmussenreports.com, sign up for a daily newsletter, follow me on Twitter at Mark_R_Mitchell, or our main account at Rasmussen_poll. Please take a second to click the subscribe button on YouTube. And thanks for watching.